Good morning, BenBinFro. My name is Richard and I live in Bentley. And our thought for today, Thursday, the 10th of March, is from Genesis chapter 42, verses 18 to 28. On the third day, Joseph said to them, "Do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back for your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified, and that you may not die." This they proceeded to do. They said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why this distress has come on us." Reuben replied, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood." They did not realize that Joseph could understand them, since he was using an interpreter. He turned away from them and began to weep, but then came back and spoke to them again. He and Simeon taken from them and bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, they loaded their grain on their donkeys and left. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey, and he saw his silver in the mouth of his sack. "My silver has been returned," he said to his brothers. "Here it is in my sack." Their hearts sank, and they turned to each other, trembling, and said, "What is this that God has done to us?" The story of Joseph is one of my favourites in the Bible. The twists and turns of his life, I think we can all relate to, and it continues to both challenge and encourage me. To put this passage for today in context, 20 years prior to the events of this chapter, Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery. Miraculously, Joseph is now the governor of the nation of Egypt. His brothers, who know nothing of Joseph's fate, have come to buy food during a terrible famine. Joseph, probably and justifiably angry at his brothers, keeps his identity a secret at first. Over the next several chapters, he will test, challenge, and chasten them. Yet there is no revenge involved. Everything Joseph does furthers a long-term goal of rescuing the family from starvation. As I read these verses again, two things struck me afresh this morning. And that is how we react as individuals when we are under pressure or in a tricky situation. As I heard recently, people are often like tea bags. We only show our true character or flavour once we find ourselves in hot water. In this passage today, we read in verse 22, Reuben replied, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen." Reuben, under perceived pressure from Joseph, immediately deflects blame onto his brothers and away from himself. And secondly, in verse 28, we read, "Their hearts sank, and they turned to each other, trembling, and said, 'What is this that God has done to us?'" The brothers respond to finding silver in their grain sacks, combined with the assumed consequences of theft, culminates them in blaming God for where they find themselves. I wonder if we have ever found ourselves under pressure, in hot water, and looked to deflect the situation onto others, or even onto God. As we might reflect on this challenge, the story of Joseph, for me, reminds me that God is a God of the long game, or as a friend put it, a God of the long horizon. We can all relate to some or possibly all of the story of Joseph, but often we may get stuck in a certain part of the journey. When times are tough, we might throw off our angst at others or even onto God. Why has God done this to me? If the brothers knew not only in part, but the whole story of Joseph, their response may well have been quite different. So to leave you with a simple, yet I hope significant thought for today, may it be that we trust and look towards the whole story of our lives, a life where God is both for us and through our journey is shaping us to be the person he is calling us to be. Have a great day.